Hello YouTube, it's Dominoid here once again with another games review for you. And this week we're going to be looking at 1996 PC game Harvester. Now it does contain some scenes that some viewers might find disturbing. Because of that, what I've done is I've edited the video so as to replace some of the more grotesque visuals with pictures of bunny rabbits. If you'd rather see an uncensored version though of this review, then I shall pop a link along here on an annotation to the uncut version. If you're still with me though, enjoy! So Harvester, what is Harvester? It was a 1996 point-and-click adventure game. It was released by DigiFX Interactive, who went on to do absolutely nothing else. And it was created by Gilbert P. Austin, who also went on to do nothing else. If you have a look at some of the clips of the game, you'll probably understand why.
Steve, aluminum siding can't get a fair shake no more. Started when those firemen came to harvest, filling people's heads with newfangled notions like color coordination and interior design. You can paint aluminum, you know, if you want to.
So, basic premise of the game then, you play as Steve, who is the protagonist of the game. He is suffering from a serious bout of amnesia in a totally original plotline. He wakes up in Harvest, which is a 1950s American town which everything seems a little bit weird in. It's a bit League of Gentlemen. There's a butcher that has loads of meat but you never see any animals. There's your meat-obsessed father-in-law. There's your overly Stepford wife's mother and mother-in-law. It's just all a little bit creepy and strange, and that sets the scene for a game which in itself is also actually quite creepy and strange.
Right.
It proudly proclaims itself on the box as being the most violent adventure game ever created, which gives you an idea of where the developers' attention was actually focused when they were producing this game. It's an FMV game, so it is, as was pretty much most games released on CD ROM in the mid-90s, a collection of grainy full motion video clips held together by a fairly loose plot game. So as a game, it's point and click adventure, very much in the style of classic games from Sierra and LucasArts. It features a fairly generic puzzle system for these kind of games, where it's predominantly find an object, use object on usually a locked door or something that you need to get through. There's a few interesting little twists. There's a quite nice chess puzzle in the middle of the game. Unfortunately, if you make a single wrong move, then you get attacked by a giant chess piece. I'm not joking. And when you shoot that, it has exactly the same effect as solving the damn puzzle in the first place. So, quite honestly, there's not really much point having puzzles if you're going to do that. I think that's a bad choice there. But that's just my personal opinion. It is quite amusing to be attacked by a giant wooden chess piece. So there's that. There's some interesting, shall we say, little scenes in it. The whole game was designed specifically, according to the author, to make a statement. The statement, I believe, from what I picked up, was basically, I am trying too hard. It is very, very hammed up. Show me a 90s CD-ROM game which actually did have high-quality professional actors in it. I mean, it's a criticism. It probably isn't fair to level at them because that was the playing field that they were on.
Yes, a great deal of pleasure. The wasp is a sensual being, not a laborer. Hedonistic instead of industrial. Some think them quick to anger. In truth, they are easily swayed to ecstasy. They penetrate your flesh, and the muscular contractions in their thorax as they pump venom could be likened to the muscular contractions of ejaculation, each painful welt an act of love.
Essentially, the statement they were trying to make was one of anti-censorship. It was released at the height of the media debate on games violence, and they were trying to make the statement essentially that video games can be created for adults, that they can be, like any other medium, from the extreme to the extreme. Did they succeed? Well, have you heard of the game? So probably not. They had a good stab at it, and I can see where they're coming with an awful lot of the scenes. Possibly one or two went a little too far for my particular taste.
When a man and a woman love each other very much, they go into a room alone and shut the door and bolt it with at least 3 locks and prop a chair under the doorknob so no one can get in or out. Then they take off their clothes and get out a wide variety of scalpels. Some curved, some short, all of them sharp. And then the man climbs on the woman, and then they, with the barbed wire, they...
I think there's a point when you're trying to make an artistic statement where you have to stand back and ask yourself, actually, does this make me look like a dickhead? Clearly, Gilbert P. Austin never did this, or if he did, he didn't notice. There's some pretentiousness there, quite a lot of it, quite frankly. I see what he was trying to do, and it's a great idea, but it's a great idea which has been done far, far better later on in games that are more adult orientated, without specifically pushing the envelope to a point where it burst open, spilling all the junk mail over the floor.
I just can't stand it anymore.
I wish there was something I could do.
There he is. Make love to me. Do it to me. Now.
There's the obligatory pointless sex scene. There's the creepy little child who shoots you if you don't bring the newspaper out for him. There's excessive amounts of violence and gore, lots of S&M references, some particularly interesting casual racism. Yeah, they do a very, very good job of making you dislike pretty much everyone in the game throughout. So if that was the aim, well done. 10 out of 10. There's no real character development, and that, for me, is the fatal issue here that stops it from being an artistic game and just makes it into a series of pretentious clips. You have very limited amounts of dialogue, and that presumably is the nature of this type of game. It was released on CD ROM in the early days, so compression wasn't going to be particularly fantastic. They were going to have to make some sacrifices, and I think that did come in the sense of there is very little dialogue. You've got quite a nice, interesting little conversation system that gives you an option of other, so you can put additional phrases in it, which seems like a brilliant idea, but it was never really utilised because I never actually found a reason to use the other section at all, other than typing rude words in to see what would happen when you said them to characters.
What a thing to say to your mother. Was that an invitation now that your father is out of action? Maybe later, dear. Right now I have housework to do. Though you can watch if you want.
Some of the puzzles required a little bit of interesting looking up online. Something common to most point-and-click adventures of the era is that there were occasional sections where an object was just 3 or 4 pixels in size and you're supposed to notice it but you don't. Or of course the old mix random object A with random object B puzzle, which is not obvious at all. A good example of this, there's 2 sections in the game where you have to break into a building. In both cases you have to put tape over the glass window that you're breaking into, and then you have to break it open with something. However, one of them you break open with a wrench and the other one you break open with a fire axe. You have tons of items in your inventory that could be used to break a window, and there's no reason that those 2 objects couldn't interchange, but if you use the wrong one, absolutely nothing happens. You have to use the exact right one. It's not a forgiving game either as well. One of the things that I generally tend to like in point-and-click adventures is the fact that you usually can't die. Putting yourself in an unwinnable situation or killing your character is something that was pretty much abandoned back in the days of text adventures. Unfortunately, nobody told Gilbert P. Austin this, and there are many ways to die in Harvester. Some examples of reasons why I died in the game include not putting out the newspaper for a small boy, not giving a good reason why the crazy no-legged man in control of the nuclear missiles shouldn't shoot me, walking on a janitor's clean floor, and my personal favourite, walking past some bubbles. But the main reason that I died in many occasions was simply walking into a room. There's an awful lot of enemies that are placed immediately as you come into a room, and if you weren't ready for them, then you're probably going to die instantly. So you've got to save frequently, and you've got to get quite used to the game over screen because you're going to see it an awful lot. So overall, do they make the point they were trying to make? Do they make that artistic statement? Well, kind of. Do they make a great game whilst doing it? Sad to say, it's not. It's not a terrible game. If you've got a spare £5 in your Steam account, go and buy The Seventh Guest. It's a much better example of FMV games. But if you already own that, then buy The 11th Hour, which was also quite good. But if you already own that, and this game's on sale, then yeah, go on, check it out. Most of the great scenes in it, of course, are available on YouTube. So if you just want to see some gore, then just look them up on there. But if you want to see what all the fuss is about like I did, then it's available on Steam, it's available on GOG. It is the uncut version on both. In most countries, I believe some countries there were a few censorship issues. But again, YouTube.
Somebody help me! What do you people want from me?
Too late for that, boy. Ain't it, Sergeant?
Indeed it is, Sheriff. Answers may only be found in the lodge, and you must be alive to seek them.
So that is all from me again for another review. I shall see you again very soon for some new videos. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to click the subscribe button, click the like button, share it on social media, follow me on social media if you want. I'm on Twitter and I'm on Google+. I'll put links down below, and of course don't forget to check out my earlier videos if you haven't already seen them. Until next time though, cheers YouTube, and I'll see you soon.